Hey guys, it's Benefits of a G from G Tracker here. It's been quite a while since the last video, hasn't it? This video isn't by any means necessarily going to be like an educational video. So there's nothing in this video that's going to help you learn how to flip, merge, give you kind of like any kind of foundation. This is more of like an update / announcement type video, kind of like keeping you guys up to date on what's kind of going on, stuff like that. So what you guys are looking at right now are some of the old school RuneScape Bond winners from our previous giveaway. So far, we've only awarded 4 of the winners so far, and there's still quite a bit more left. And these four people, sorry about that. Sorry about that. Okay, so these 4 people, they all contacted us the same day that the contest ended. But everyone else has yet to contact us. So it's been like over a month now at the time of this recording. I'm not sure when this video is going to be released because I like to go through a whole like edit process, and then I'm going to like send it to James for review. It's kind of like this whole thing that I do to make sure that these videos are like up to standard to like what I believe they should be released at. Yeah, at the time of this video that this was recorded, there's still quite a lot of players that need to be awarded their bond, and it's been over a month now. Not that that's a bad thing, but I'd like to get the bonds to the winners, to the rightful owners, so James doesn't think I'm just hoarding these bonds and the G Tracker account. But yeah, other than that, let's get right into what else is going to be talked about in this video. All right, guys. So the whole reason we did the bond giveaway was in celebration of the forums. Now, if you're going to find the forums under the dashboard menu when you're logged in, and it'll automatically bring you to this page. Now, if you're not signed in, all you have to do is refresh the page, and you'll find that your account is automatically linked between the forums and the website. Now, one suggestion has been that there should be notifications between when you get a reply on the forums to your G Tracker website. That's something that we liked as a suggestion, and it may come in the future. I'm not sure, but this forum has been open now for about a month to the public. It's been quite active. I don't go on here every day, probably every other day. And the most active discussion, obviously, is the merchanting discussion. But you may have already visited the forums if you've been pretty active on the website. If you visit any of the web pages, then you're going to see this little blue highlighted bar at the very top, which links you to our text guide. Now, this was also something that was highly suggested by many users who maybe don't want to watch YouTube videos all the time to get information, or maybe want to continuously go back to a guide and read up on the text on specific pieces of information that they may need to help them progress forward. Now, this guide is meant to mirror the YouTube guides. So there's not going to be any information here that isn't talked about on YouTube and vice versa. Now, you're going to see a little bit of a sneak peek here in terms of upcoming editions. These were 2 videos that I wanted to release sooner rather than later. There's more videos I wanted to release to you guys. The list is actually getting kind of long, but not as long as James's list on improving this website. But I am getting a little behind on the videos that I wanted to release to you guys. But there's a little sneak peek for you in terms of what I want to talk about. And I've kind of organized this in the best way possible. I have a little table of contents, kind of go over the basics at first, and I kind of go into like progressively go from beginner to intermediate to kind of like the more advanced flippers. But this is kind of like generally geared towards players who maybe have never merged before, or maybe they're kind of like a beginner, maybe an average merchant, and they kind of want to get a little bit more insights on how they might improve upon their own methods. And again, guys, this is going to mirror our YouTube channel. So anything on the YouTube channel is going to be on here. And anything that's on here is also going to be on the YouTube channel and vice versa. So this guide then, keep in mind, is not finished. I'm going to continuously add to this guide over time. So anytime that I release a new video that's educational, informational, then I'll work on an editing, on a text version of that to add to this guide. So there's the form, guys. Be sure to check out the guide if you haven't, especially if you're a new merchant, and be sure to like introduce yourself. All right, so real briefly, I wanted to talk about the raids items. because for the past 2 weeks, there's been kind of like a little panic happening in game. And you may or may not know this about me, but I don't like to talk specifically on why an item's crashing or rising in price until like after it's already occurred. I don't like to get involved in trying to like help people predict items for the future. That's not my thing. But I wanted to talk about this because if you've been on the Discord chat for the past 2 weeks, then you would have seen at first hand what I was talking about in terms of the different types of merchants out there and how comfortable they are with risk. If you guys had been in the Discord chat, then you would have seen a variety of wealthy merchants in the game, also in our server, kind of bragging about some of the flips that they've been making. And when people say money makes more money, this is like the literal definition of that. They've been making ridiculous amounts of money. I'd say collectively they've already made over $1 billion. If you pull all their money together and all their flips in the span of the 2 weeks from this kind of like panic from happening, it's been pretty ridiculous. And if you guys haven't been seeing it, then you guys have been missing out on looking at firsthand kind of like the thinking behind some of the more wealthy merchants. But again, I wanted to talk about this because generally when an item is released into the game, regardless of whether or not it's valuable or not, the item's going to kind of start out high and then decline in price in the long run 99% of the time. It's not always true. However, this is a little different because it's been about 2 months now since raids were released. So this is kind of like a little unnatural movement in terms of the price trend for these items. And it's kind of collectively happening for all of them. And it's kind of like impacting other items as well. So the general community is kind of like panicking and also kind of going into this little hype mode of trying to churn massive ROIs. And again, I wanted to talk specifically about these because when an item is valuable, such as the raids items, and something like this happens that's unusual, generally there's always going to be like a little bounce. This is kind of like something that comes with like, I guess you would say, experience. But when there's a decline in an item this rapid, this quick in succession, there's usually a bounce back. Maybe like a little bit or kind of like a big bounce. But generally when something's valuable and useful in the game, it's not going to continue to go on a decline indefinitely. That's where these merchants have been making a lot of money. So as you can see here, in a very quick succession, the length of the bodies in these candlestick graphs are depicting a very quick decline. Now, if you don't know how to read candlestick graphs, don't get too discouraged on what you're seeing here. It's very simple. I've already made a video on this in our YouTube channel. You guys can check that out. But if you've already watched that video, then you would have known that our candlestick graphs are in a beta stage, and this isn't supposed to be how they're normally depicted visually, representing the data. So it's a little buggy, but we're continuously working on the graphs. Well, I should say James is. He's putting a lot of hard work into that. However, I'm already comfortable with candlestick graphs, so I can already look at this and tell right off the bat how this item is behaving. So as we can look in the past, the item was pretty stable. The length in the body itself and also the wick, just generally the whole candlestick, can help you depict on whether or not how quickly the item is going to trend up or down. So as we can see here, it was pretty stable in the past, and then all of a sudden this massive decline happened. And then we have over here another graph that's a little buggy. It's not supposed to look like this, but we can see a rapid decline and then that little bounce that I was talking about. And if we look at the little weekly time frame, this is an example of what it's supposed to look like. And we can see a decline and then a bounce. If we look at the other mall, another example of what's not supposed to look like. Let's look at the monthly time frame. Doesn't change anything. Let's go to the line graph. Okay, massive decline and then a bounce. So if you ever see anything like this in game, in terms of items that are valuable, useful, then you may want to kind of like buy those up and in anticipation of like a little bounce back. but these are also some of the more risky items to flip. So if you guys have watched my video on the different types of merchants out there, then this would be kind of like in the category of the mastermind flippers out there. These guys have the highest tolerance for risk, I should say, and are very comfortable with taking on that risk. Obviously, they don't want to lose any money, and if they do lose money, they're probably going to lose a lot. There was a guy in the Discord chat earlier, a couple days ago, I'm not going to mention any names, but he was trying to flip on primordial boots, and he had, I believe, around 40 of them invested. Not 40 mil, like 40 primordial boots that he actually had in his bank that he was trying to flip. It doesn't always go out well. He actually ended up losing a lot of money on that. I think it was about 20 mil, 30 mil around the area. I'm not entirely sure. But again, other players, other merchants have also done very well on these bounces where they've been making hundreds of millions. I think collectively, if we pulled all of those wealthy merchants from our server and kind of collectively pulled all their flips from these past 2 weeks, I'd say they've made easily over 500 mil between all of them. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly go over the rates items real quick. I didn't want to make a specific video on them simply because it's kind of like a short-term thing, and I'm not going to make any predictions. So it's kind of like a weird thing to do as a one-off video. Okay, next we have the items that I did in the flipping stream. If you guys have been watching those streams, I told you guys that when I was done with the items, all of the items to go into my table here as public transactions, so you guys can see 100% what I flipped, what I bought them for and sold them for, and how much I made. So anything that I make on the GE Tracker account is always going to be public for you guys to view, and I only flip on that account when I'm streaming or making a YouTube video about it. So you're never going to miss out on any of the items specifically that I'm flipping. Actually, no. Okay, there was something I was going to bring up, but I'll save it for the end of the video. But if you guys look up here at the very top, you're going to notice this blue highlight bar that I was mentioning earlier. And this is the flipping guide that I was talking about when we were going over the guide. If you guys click on that, it'll just bring over to the forums. So you guys can check that out if you want to. But down here, we have a list of the items that I've been flipping in the flipping streams. So if you go all the way down to the Tanzanite Fang, I think that was the last one. Yes, the Tanzanite Fang was the very first item that I flipped in terms of the flipping stream. And I remember in that stream for the Tanzanite Fang, I wanted to flip something really quick so I can just show you guys that, just kind of like get one transaction out there and show you guys the margins that I was trying to go for. But I didn't end up buying more of those because at that point in time, you guys saw what the prices were for that. So I just kind of moved on to other ones, and Dragon Scale Dust did pretty good for me. But in terms of the more recent items, it starts at the Omnidal page and up. And this was the secondary flipping stream that I did. But you may notice that there are some items missing. I made a little mistake with the house hoods. When they all bought, I thought I had moved them over to a sell transaction, and I was just waiting for those to sell, and I was going to come in, log in, and see that they had all sold. But instead, I logged in thinking that I had already done that, and they were just all bought, and I just felt like an idiot. So I had to wait a while for some of the hoods to sell, and some of them haven't sold. And also, to make it worse, put some salt on the wound. Some of the items have gone down further in value, so I'm not going to get the margins that I was looking for, which is a really, really big bummer because I really wanted to show you guys the potential on how much I could potentially make on all of those items. But if we look at the Lovakin house hood here, you guys are going to get a little picture of what I was actually going for in terms of how big the margin really was. So here we have a buy price of around 70,000 and then selling it for 250,000, which is a huge ROI for such a low item. Like, I mean, pretty much anyone can afford 70K. So this is kind of like, these are the kind of items that I was going for in terms of players who don't have a lot of money and are asking whether or not flipping is worthwhile. And I started this account with 2.5 mil, and with very little trades, I've gone it up to almost 15 mil. So I should say, no matter how much money you have, you should always try flipping, and the sooner you start, the better you get at it. But again, with the house hoods, I did make a little mistake. So there are some hoods missing here. I know for a fact the Sk1llzy and the Sk1llzy hoods are still selling. The Sk1llzy hoods are still doing good for me. The margins are going to be okay for those. Not too major. The Sk1llzy ones, I'm going to lose money on those. I don't know how much, but I'm trying to minimize those. And the Novocaine house hoods are doing okay. The margin isn't as big as what it's showing there, but it is still doing pretty good. So overall, in terms of the 2 flipping streams that I did, I would have made, let's see. So if all the transactions sell, I would have made around almost 5 mil. Almost 5 mil in very few trades, which is really good for someone who doesn't have a lot of money. So hopefully that kind of motivates some of you guys who don't have like 20 mil, 50 mil, 100 mil, 1 bill to flip with, and realize that, you know, you can flip with a very small amount of cash and still make a lot of money and build it up quite rapidly. And if you're going to be flipping and you've never flipped before, then you may want to check my video on managing risk, where I go over trying to divide up your cash stack in terms of like trying to progress your own account in the main game, as well as making money flipping. Okay, so like I said, I have been doing some live streaming recently, whether it's flipping or clue scrolls. I've been doing a little bit more kind of like interaction with the community. Now, you guys may notice that little black bar in the middle of the screen. That's just kind of like the login blocker, so no one kind of figures out what my login is and then just kind of like prevent me from logging in. But if you guys haven't checked them out, you guys should be sure to check out the live streams. It's a great opportunity for you guys to ask questions about the website, any tools, just generally any kind of merchanting questions that you guys may have that I wouldn't or have not answered in any of the other videos. More recently, I've been doing these hard clue streams where I've been buying Magpie Implinks, seeing how much I spent on the Implinks themselves, and then how much I get back from them. So that's kind of cool. At the very end of that, I'm going to kind of like show the overall loot on how much I've made doing all the clue scrolls and how much I've spent. So be sure to check that out. Okay guys, so I was able to get in contact with one of our winners while I was editing this video. Luckily, one of our users in the Discord chat was asking for a rank in the CC for being a premium user, and he actually added us back online. So now there's only 3 people left to award their bond, and if you haven't done so, please email us so we can award you your bond. Alright, so I guess that's going to be the end of the video, guys. Nothing really too important today. Just kind of wanted to keep you guys up to date on what's been going on, as well as a few other things I wanted to talk about. But yeah, I do have some videos planned for you guys that I really want to release to you guys that I think you guys would find useful. But I don't want to rush anything. I always want to make sure that the videos that I provide that are educational are as useful as they possibly can be. I don't want to release any kind of like junk or trash to you guys and not really be useful at all. But I am definitely going to go back to making YouTube videos on a weekly basis. As you guys can see, kind of on a general timeline, the last YouTube video that I released was 3 weeks ago. Not good. Definitely way too long. So I'm going to go back to trying to make these on a weekly basis and be as consistent as I possibly can. And in terms of the live stream video, guys, some of you guys have been asking about a schedule for that. I'm trying to work on a schedule, but it's kind of hard at this point in time to figure out a day and time that I'm going to stick with every single week on a consistent basis. But I am working on it, and I will come up with a schedule as soon as I can. And I'll leave a link in the description in the streaming videos if you guys want to find out what the schedule is for that. And in terms of streaming on Twitch, some of you guys have been also asking about that. I am going to start streaming on Twitch as well. I did find a little software platform, I guess you should say, a couple weeks ago. I haven't set it up yet, but I am going to do that for the next stream if I can get it to work. I haven't actually tried logging in yet, but I'm going to try to stream simultaneously between Twitch and YouTube because I know that's what you guys have been asking for. It's kind of like one of the more frequent questions that come my way. But yeah, so if you guys want to know, or if you guys want to watch some of the previous stream videos, I'm going to make a playlist that has all of the live streams in one playlist so you guys can check that out. I don't want to spam the channel with all these live streams that I've been doing. I'm gonna kind of keep it clean as much as I possibly can. I may or may not have a few live stream videos here in the channel for you guys to check out publicly. See, like the first time stream, casual flipping. That's obviously something that I would keep public and for you guys to easily access. And in that video itself, I'm gonna leave a description or a link in the description to the playlist for the entire live stream videos, I guess you should say, if you guys want to check that out. So yeah, that's gonna be the end of the video, guys. Be sure to leave a like to show your support. Be sure to subscribe to follow for future content. Good luck merching, guys, and until next time.